My host?
I will make you host right now.
Excellent.
Perfect. You are host, Karen.
Thank you.
No problem.
I thought I printed out.
Hang on. Trying to get a shared screen going, everybody. Hang on. I always forget I have to open the document to share my screen. All right. Let's get going because I'm very concerned about your time. So let's get rocking and rolling. My name is Karen Hilbert. For years, I did all the compliance on the contracts. So I'm a very systems, hey Megan. I'm a very systems orientated person and a checklist. I live by checklists. When I had 1 or 2 contracts, it was like, okay, that's good. I think when I was the busiest, I might have had 14 contracts pending and like 7 listings, and I just couldn't keep my mind together. So that's when you decide that you might want to live by a few checklists. And we're all independent contractors. What works for you might not work for me. What works for me might not work for you. But this class today is a guideline, and it kind of helps you keep on track, at least for the legalities of the contract and what your responsibilities are. Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay. If you want to unmute yourself, that's absolutely fine, because I certainly hope today's class is more interactive. It's not like your typical class. This is a contract class, meaning what documents do you need? What procedure would be helpful to you in your business? So let's talk a little bit. I'd love to know where each one of you are in your business right now. If you're just starting, or if this is a refresher, if you're new to Keller Williams, let's hear it. Can we start with Laura?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty new. I just started about almost 2 weeks now. So I'm just, in the process of learning everything. But yesterday, I did get to meet with my mentor, because I do have a couple friends who are looking to buy property. So trying to get moving on all that. So this is
excellent. Excellent. Very good. It's pretty scary when all of a sudden someone says, I want to write a contract, and you're like, I don't know what to do. What do I do now? Right? Okay. Well, very good. Welcome, Laura. Next, let's go to Kristen. Kristen, let's hear from you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen. I've been with Keller Williams since January. Really, I've listened to your contract one before, Karen, but because I had a previous job, I could only really listen and not participate. So I'm happy to start Ignite this time around and really participate more. I have one listing that is closing on Friday.
Yay.
Yay.
Yay. Well, maybe this class, maybe you can speak up frequently, Kristen, because maybe bumps that came along the road when you were starting with your listing to finish, maybe you could have some input, because that's really what this is about. No 2 listings are the same. No 2 purchase offers are the same. This is just a general idea of the process.
Yes, my listing was an estate sale.
Okay. All right. Yep. So that's a little bit different too.
Yeah.
Excellent. Megan, let's hear from you.
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm new to the real estate world as well. And I'm very excited because I have my first client. He's from North Carolina. So he'll be buying up here. So I'm very excited to get to learn the ins and outs of the contract so I don't make any mistakes.
Very good. So you're on the purchase contract. You're going to be focusing on that.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Scott, let's hear from you.
Hey.
Hi.
It is Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. I've been with Keller Williams for a month now, new to this whole real estate thing. And hopefully I'll have my first clients as of today. I'm meeting with a couple who's looking to buy between 10 and 20 acres with a house and
Nice.
yeah. So yeah, they went between 10 and 20 acres, a nice house, pond, yeah, a pond or a creek or something like that. I've seen a few. So
Nice.
I'm gonna meet with them this afternoon and get the ball rolling, I hope.
Excellent. Excellent. So really you're having a consultation meeting.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good. Okay, well, good luck with that. Hopefully this helps you a little bit. Some of the things we'll talk about today may help.
Yeah, I hope so. Thank you.
Excellent. It looks like we had Kaylee just pop on, but I don't see her.
I'm
Kaylee,
here.
hi, good. So basically we're just kind of going through who you are and where you're at in your business. If you're just starting, if you are in the business, if you've written contracts, let's hear it.
I'm fresh. I'm just starting. I have not written any contracts. I signed right before Ignite started, so just a couple weeks in.
Okay,
I'm eager to write a contract though, so.
good. It's a good thing. Right. Okay, let's hear from you. Can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can
All
hear.
right.
I can hear you now.
I've got this new retainer in, so my voice is gonna sound a little weird.
It's okay.
So I'm pretty new too. No contract writing. Haven't done any of that. I do have two people that before the end of the year, one person, their leash is up in like July, so they want to find a house, but I basically already told them based off of what Jim White told me. He told me basically if they were to get pre-approved, they're gonna have like a month to find a house with how everything is. But I got to follow up with her actually today, but supposedly they were supposed to be submitting their paperwork to the bank to get pre-approved, but other than that, nothing else other than that. Every day I do just like lead generating stuff like that. Try and hand out business cards just to grow my business a little bit more.
Excellent. Sounds good. I don't know who Keller Williams site is. That might be, is that a person?
Huh?
It might be staff. It's keeping track of me. Okay, let's move on. Andy, can we hear from you where you're at in your business?
Hi, sorry.
Okay,
I have not written any contracts. I have a house that I'll be listing probably into next week. The last person moves out of there this weekend. So I did write several contracts in commercial real estate last year, but they're vastly different. So don't really have any experience with residential contracts as of yet.
okay.
Will soon.
You will soon.
Yeah.
That's right. Brandon, let's hear from you.
So all I've been doing pretty much is just connecting, networking, telling people that I'm in the real estate now. It's been a couple weeks, so I'm hoping that the word still spreads. Definitely handing out my business cards, having conversations with those people. Definitely, sometimes I get caught up in giving my business card, but then I don't get their information or like their email or something, so I can add it to my database. But just working on that, and day by day, it's coming along.
Excellent. Good. Audrey, let's hear from you.
I'm still handing out business cards, still getting in the whole shebang. Sorry, I'm just waking up.
Okay. All right. Well, today's class is going to pretty much what I call bulletproof your contracts. And what that means is let's make sure we have all of the information we need before we write a contract and after we write a contract. And then what do we do after we write a contract? What is our responsibility? So we're going to start with a view. It's actually a new listing checklist that I kind of put together for myself, but I tend to follow the office's point of sale checklist and listing checklist because I know those are documents I absolutely need. But part of today is preparing for that listing. So Andy, this may help you a little bit. You know, researching what you have to do and then putting your plan in motion. So I'm going to share my screen right now. Whoops. Hold on. Not good at this, guys. Here we go. All right, can everybody see this? I'm gonna start with
Yep.
listings. Everybody can see it?
Yep.
Feel free to unmute yourself so that you can speak at any point in time here. Your new listing checklist, you do have research that you have to do before you go on a listing. Most of the information you're going to find in our MLX system. So you're gonna definitely be part of your board. You're gonna have to know how to sign in. The two functions that you are going to use the most are your search line and your realist, REALIST. Realist is a great tool for the history of the property. You can look up your tax record. You can see the transfer. Oftentimes you can see what the person paid for it. Sometimes in that little realist, you'll see something that says MLS, and then there's a number next to it. It's actually the old MLS number from when your future sellers purchased the house. So no, even if it only goes back, you know, our system tends to punch in 0 to 35 days on a search, but you can eliminate that 0 to 35 days and just put the address in. Our system goes back years and years and years to see if there's an old listing. Oftentimes that's very helpful because you can see what the house looked like, you can see what they paid for it, you can see if there's any liens on the property, you can see if they actually own it. Like Kristen mentioned, she just did an estate. Well, oftentimes on the realist, it still has the seller's number, or excuse me, the seller's name. So you really need to research when you're doing an estate, the fact that is the person that you're speaking to the executor, do they have the right to sell the property? So it's not unusual to ask for what we call a letter of testamentary. That is a letter that the courts provide stating that the person you're speaking with is in fact the executor. You want to make sure you're dealing with the right person who can sign the paperwork. It even states on that paperwork how they sign. Karen Hilbert as executor for the Olszewski estate, something like that will say. And that's how your seller has to sign. So you may have to revise your paperwork accordingly. If the house is still in the name of the deceased person, they are the seller. So you can't change the seller's name, but you can make sure that you know that who the signer is.
Yeah, I think we had to put, you know, the Lisa's name, executor for the estate of, you know, and that's what was, it was long, but it was on the contract.
Right. And sometimes if the contract has transferred title on the tax records, that is exactly what you put. If the contract has not transferred title, I often call the seller's attorney and say, what name do you want on the purchase offer? I immediately get that information from the seller. Who's your attorney? Who's going to be handling this? Because I need to be in contact with them. Right? Part of what I'm talking about is bulletproofing your contract. In this crazy world, we have people who change their minds. Let's say, as Lisa said, you know, the name of the executor was actually the seller because the house had been transferred. And you put the deceased person's name on the contract. Let's say 2 days before closing, the buyer gets cold feet. That's an out of the contract if you don't have it correct.
Okay.
See what I'm getting at? Bulletproof these contracts. Make sure you have the correct information. So always look at, according to this checklist, you do have websites for initial research. MonroeCounty.gov, that is one method to research the property, but actually our MLS under links, INKS, there's a on the left-hand side, you can scroll down and it'll say Monroe County Tax Portal or Real Property Portal. It will say City of Rochester Portal. That's where you find the taxes on the property. It's not just the taxes, though, that you should research. Take a peek at the tax history under the Monroe County site. See if the taxes are paid. They might not be paid for years and years and years. This is something that you want to know before you walk into that listing. So you have to do your research. Also, if it is a condo, check with the management company. Who is the management company? What is their phone number? There's professional management companies and there's self-managed companies. So some complexes have professional management companies like Kaufman or Kendrick. They take care of collecting all the association fees, all the repairs. Everything goes to this corporation to take care of. Other condo townhomes units have self-managed HOA, which means there's a board of directors. You're going to have to know who the contact person is. The reason you need to know this information is when the purchase offer comes in on this property, oftentimes the attorney wants to examine the financials. And what that means is the attorney wants to take a look at the bookkeeping records of the association, make sure everything is paid and your buyer or seller is not in a mess. You ever heard of something called special assessments on condos or townhouse complexes? Usually each homeowner is imposed what they call a special assessment, which is a dollar amount. Could be $5,000, could be $2,000, could be $20,000. And the reason that special assessment is imposed is because there's not enough money in the association to take care of a repair that's needed. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, that's your research. Under realist, there's also an area you can click for maps. And one of the very first things I do is check to see if the property is in a flood zone. And we actually, there's a map on realist. It's really easy. You just go to maps and you go across the top and there's this layered, there's an icon that looks like layered pieces of paper. Check on that icon and you can scroll down, check flood insurance, then your screen will light up all different colors. What you want to be, pardon?
Do we have this checklist in the no folder?
No, you don't. This is something I made up.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'm sharing.
Oh, I like that list.
This was to keep my head straight.
I might need you to send that through in a link for that in the chat because I like that.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is ask all of you to text me your emails and I would be happy to send this checklist to you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, because I was looking around for it as well.
I know it's not there. Nope. This is a Karen Hilbert form. And I made up this form to teach this class, quite frankly. And I'm going to go off in tangents because there's always something else that might come up. So just kind of take notes if you can, then add them to these forms. So FYI, my phone number is 259-7532. My email is Karen Hilbert, HILBERT, @aw.com. Easy, right?
Yeah, got you.
If you text me, then I can add you to my contacts, which I really want to do.
So Karen, you said we could find that flood zone in Realist?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, realist. You know, there's the dashboard across the top, and just look for maps. And that's mainly for flood zone. You can find a lot of information in Realist. So part of your homework is going to be play with system. Play with your MLS matrix system so that you're familiar with how to find things. So one thing that at my new listing, I always make sure that I disclose right up front with my seller that I'm an agent of the seller, but I am going to be asking for advance consent for dual agency with designated sales agents, dual agency, straight dual agency. And you've got to be very comfortable with this explanation. You have an obligation to give your seller a copy of this agency before you leave that house. So if you are meeting, like Andy, you're meeting with people for a listing, this is a piece of paper that you're going to leave at the house with the seller, a copy of it at least. So here's how I explained agency. Obviously, first and foremost, you've called me to your home and you would like me to represent you as a seller. Let me explain what capacity I work in. I work as an agent of the seller. There may be a situation where someone calls me and would like information because they drove by your sign. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, would you like me to be able to give them information? Well, yes. That puts me in the scenario of a dual agent because now I am giving information out about your property. Secondly, would you like your house to be available for showings and possibly purchase to 520 other agents that work at Keller Williams? Well, yes, of course I would. That's dual agency with designated sales agent. So I am the agent representing the seller, and Andy Wegman is the agent representing the buyer. So when you look at that dual agency form, you will understand it. In the past 3 months, I have been in the scenario of dual agency 3 times. 2 times I felt 100% comfortable on both ends. 1 time I did not. Buyers said that they didn't have an agent. They planned on working through their attorney to write a contract, which I was like, oh, great. But they have the right to do that. And I said, okay, well, is your attorney going to be with you to show you the house? And does your attorney have a lockbox key to get you in? Well, no, my attorney doesn't. Can you show me the house? And I said, okay, but I want to make it perfectly clear that in that capacity, I made an agreement with the sellers that I am an agent of the sellers, but I do have the right for dual agency, so I can speak to you about the house. Right? You got to tell them. You've got to explain. So next thing you know, they love the house. They say, okay, we're going to contact our attorney to write the offer. So I've taken my time, my energy, whatever, to show them the house. Okay, great. They said, we just feel because you're representing the sellers that, you know, it's a conflict of interest. I said, that's absolutely fine. So then they call me later on Sunday night because the offers are due Monday. They said, we don't think we can get a hold of our attorney in time, write this offer. What should we do? And I said, well, I have a few more questions. Are you going to do an engineer inspection? Because I am not going to let you in the house to do an inspection. Your attorney's representing you. So your attorney needs to be there. Well, we did speak with our attorney on the phone. They said it's your obligation. I said, no, it isn't. Your attorney is acting as the agent of the buyer. He's got the responsibility to be there for your representation. They said, oh, we don't think this is going to work with our attorney. What should we do? And I said, I'm going to assign you to another agent. So I called another agent in the office and they took over the transaction. At that point, moved forward. They wrote the offer. They did everything. We're in a multiple offer situation and they did win. So, and you know what? When I sent the offer to the attorney, he never said one word to me. Or the other agent said it. And I did have a conversation with the attorney, say, hey, not trying to step on any toes, but you weren't available. And the attorney basically said to me, I don't know why people do this. I don't know why I don't have my fingers on this real estate market. I'm like, great. Outside of it, the attorney was out of Buffalo. So You think that those people would have gotten good advice from the attorney writing that offer? Probably not. But it's all about representation. So to get back to that clause, you must explain to people what your capacity is, how you are working, and make sure you bring 2 copies with you when you initially meet the people so that you can leave 1 copy with them. Again, we're on this new listing checklist. So you have secured the listing contract. Make sure the seller provides you with the front door key. You want to be able to get in the house for pictures. You've gone through the whole listing contract. This class is not about sitting down and going through the listing contract. This is what you have to do once your listing contract is signed. So you've done the research, you've done the CMA, you've come up with the pricing, you've agreed with the seller. This is what we're going to list it for. This is the date we're going to list it. Let's get rolling. So next thing you do is you ask them for a front door key and explain to them that you are going to put a lockbox on the house. You ask them to fill out the property condition disclosure. You ask them to sign the lead-based paint addendum. I always fill out a seller's net sheet for my seller. A lot of sellers have not sold a house for a long time, but as a listing agent, you need to explain to them that there's additional closing costs that are not just commission. They have to provide an instrument survey the buyer's bank. They have to provide an updated abstract. They have to pay $4 per 1,000 of the sale price for deed stamps. They have a personal attorney they have to pay. They have transfer fees. All these are, the only thing really based on the purchase price are the $4 per 1,000 deed stamps. That's a tax for New York State. New York. But let's say the house is $200,000. It's $800 in deed stamps for seller's closing costs. So if your sellers are buying another house and all of a sudden they have $15,000 worth of seller's closing costs, including your commission, you want to know, oh my goodness, that really cut into my equity. I've got to make sure I have enough money to purchase, right? So it's very important
You're
that you know.
filling that out for them?
Yes. I do it as an estimate. The attorney will have a more exact closing cost statement.
Oh.
Most sellers want to know well before they get to the closing what they're going to walk away with. Yours is an estimate. I tell them on my seller's net sheet, it said this is only an estimate. It also says that you will get back any prepaid property taxes. If you close in June and you paid your county taxes through the end of December, you're going to be reimbursed 6 months of county taxes. You pay your mortgage, including your escrow, meaning your taxes, you're going to have a big escrow account built up. I think it's important you know how to fill out a seller's net sheet. If you haven't done that in a class, write that on your homework list, seller's net sheet.
I tried to find that on, I think yesterday's call said Matrix. Do you know where we can find one?
Won't be in Matrix, it'll be in the no file under documents.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. If it's not there for some reason, there's probably a lot of times people go in and it's not there. That in the no file gets revised like every other day as we add and take out paperwork. You can always call Chris Whitus and ask her where it is. Next, so you've got your front door key, you make arrangements for a lockbox. I would suggest you use an electronic lockbox. I know they're expensive. I know it's an investment, but I've seen more times than one a combo box put on the house, and lazy buyers agents give the combo to the buyers and don't show up. Want to see my head explode when I find that out? You'll see it. That is not what listing agents do. It's not. Out in rural areas, out in the surrounding counties, it is common to have a combo box because a lot of the agents way out in Wyoming or Steuben, they don't have a electronic lockbox access. Just some of them don't have good internet, so they don't work anyways. But I know this is crazy, but I tend to get 2 house keys. If I list properties out in Livingston County where I live, I put 1 house key in the electronic lockbox. I put a combination lockbox on another door in the house, and I put a 2nd key in. It's always nice to have that backup, especially if someone drops the house key through a deck, a open slot in a deck. You get a phone call and say, from a buyer's agent that says, I just dropped the key through the deck, and you're like, oh no. Oh no. I had to call a handyman to run over to a house to tear a deck base apart so they could crawl under and get the key. It was an estate and all the sellers were out of town and I had 1 key. Shame on me. What should you do? Make a copy of that key when you get that key. Worth it. So I'm kind of jumping around. You need to fill out, there's something called a data input sheet. That is a form that you need for your listing. It tells all the features about the house. It's really what you enter into the MLS. I bring that with me. I use it as a tool on my listing presentation. So a lot of times sellers are hoping for this price way up here, which isn't the case lately because everything's selling so high overpriced. But I go through that checklist like, okay, it's a colonial, it's 3 bedrooms. You have 1.5 baths, right? Not 2. Nope, I don't have 2. Then I go through, the first-year gas heat, don't have central air, correct? Nope, no central air. This is a tactic I use so that my seller is saying, no, I don't have that. I don't have a deck. I don't have a patio. I don't have a shed. I don't have a pool. I don't have a fence. So that it's kind of getting their sights down a little bit of what their expectations could be because you're comparing this to other homes. It's just a little marketing tool not marketing, but strategy tool that I use when we start talking about price. But of course, I use this as I walk through the home when I'm taking inventory of the features of the house before I even sit down and talk to them about price. You need to fill out the sheet because it is part of your information that when you put the listing in the computer. You need to create a description of the property, and it's really wonderful if you can ask for the seller's input. You know how in the MLS there's public remarks about houses? I say to my sellers, what made you buy this house when you bought it? What did you love about it? What do you still love about it? And I take notes on that. Why? It's going to attract the same type of interest from a buyer. So people say, I love it because all the bedrooms were big. Write that down. You put in your public remarks, spacious bedrooms. They like it because it's a deep yard that backs to a canal. Write that down if that's why they bought the house, because you're going to attract the same buyer. If they bought it because it was 1 level living, that's what you write down. Because it had a first floor, just little ideas. And these will help you with your profile, what you put in public remarks. Items that must be in private and public remarks. Anything about COVID regulations, and you're not going to find this on the sheet because I'm hoping in the future we won't have to deal with this. But right now, in your listing, you must put all COVID regulations to be followed. And please impress upon, I put it in public, I put it in private. You also must put in public and private if there's delayed showings and delayed negotiations. So that has to be both in public and private remarks. You also have to put in there if the property is in a flood zone, because flood insurance would be required. If your property is in a flood zone, I would make a call to a friendly loan officer, or if it's just borderline, you can call your loan officer. I call my girl, Lisa Roberts at Premium. I'll say, hey, can you check out this address to see if it's a flood zone? She actually sends me a flood certification sheet that she's checked with a FEMA insurance person, let me know if it is in a flood zone. And I'll put that in under attachments. I also sit down and set up my marketing plan, and I plan my open houses. You know, obviously, I am not one to do open houses right now because of COVID. Some agents are. You need to make all these plans with your seller. For example, what day are we going to take the photos? What day is the house going to be shown? How many days before we look at purchase offers? And if you're on the Facebook Rock Real Estate site, if you're not on it, get on it. Ask for an invite. There is great information on that site because people are saying, oh my gosh, everybody's offers are due Monday at 6 o'clock and my client likes 2 houses. What do I do? This is just general talk and information. Don't take it as absolute rules because some of the information that agents put on there is not true. So if you're questioning something, go to your broker. Call Tom Domanicore and ask him. There's a thread going on this morning about my buyer likes 2 houses and both of the listings have offers due at the same time on Monday. What do I do? Do I write on both? Most of the agents are saying, yeah, write on both. And if they win on both, tell the one agent, sorry, but they won another one. That was my listing. I wouldn't be very happy. So I guess maybe when listings are coming in on my, or when offers are coming in on my listings, I need to ask the buyer's agent, did your buyer written on other properties? Or because I want to know. I'm not going to consider yours in the running if your buyer's got an offer on another property, or maybe I should consider yours. And what is the buyer going to do if they win both? Do they want my listing or do they want the other one more? Is that right? Is that right or wrong? I don't know. But for my seller, it's the right thing to ask. So that's how I'm going to handle that situation right now. Taxes. You must verify true taxes. Don't ask the seller what they pay because they may have exemptions. Seller could have a VA exemption on their county tax and they might have an enhanced star exemption on their school tax. That is not what the new buyer is going to pay. If you go into the Monroe County Tax Portal under links in your MLS, you go links, Monroe County Tax Portal, type in the address, it will give you the true taxes for town and county and school. It's the City of Rochester, you have to go onto the City of Rochester site. It will say 0 under school taxes, the Monroe County site. It doesn't mean they pay 0. It means that they don't collect the school tax bill. Also, it's your responsibility to know if the house is in a village. If the property is in a village, there most likely is a village tax. How do you know this? How do you know? You've done your comparables. You've looked at other properties on the same street or the same area. You've seen that, oh my goodness, the house has a village tax of $1,100 because it's in the village of Brockport. I need to add that to the true taxes. Let's say, for example, you don't fill in that village tax. I write an offer on your listing. It gets accepted. And my buyer goes to the bank, the appraiser checks and find out there's a village tax of $1,200 a year. That increases my buyer's mortgage payment $100 a month. You might not qualify. I'm going to be pretty upset with the buyer's agent, with myself, that I didn't check to begin with. But I'm also going to be upset with you that you didn't put it in the listing. Remember, I'm talking to you right now like you're the listing agent, not the buyer's agent. Charge camera and make sure lockbox battery is okay, or schedule a photographer. Some people are taking their own photos. I really feel that I don't care if the house is $79,900 or $879,900. I hire a professional photographer because those photos are everywhere on the internet. They're on Zillow, they're on Redfin. Some sellers are shopping for a listing agent, aren't they? They're looking at other listings in their neighborhood. Let's say you took a picture with your iPhone and I hired a photographer. You think there's going to be a difference in quality? You think that seller is going to say, wow, I want that agent who took those great pictures. They don't know I hired a photographer, but it's evident that I marketed that property to the best of my ability. Okay. I can give you an example. I have a listing right now. It's in Irondequoit. It's 49 Vanderlyn Park, Vanderlin. You can go in the history and look up the pictures of that property when he bought it like 5 or 6 years ago. So when you search, when you're on your search, put in the address under S for sold, take out 0 to 35 days. You'll see the old listing, compare the photos. Obviously, my seller or my present seller did some work, who was the buyer there, but take a look at the difference in the photos. You can shop around. My understanding, there's photographers that charge $75 to do this work. There's photographers that charge $200. I've got a lake listing. I have a drone. I spend more money. I can afford to because it's a higher priced house. Order the sign and installation. That is your responsibility. It's your responsibility. I happen to use Pollock & Sons. I guess there's a few different sign companies that you can use. Just make sure you don't call your sign person that day and say, hey, I have a panel at my office in Greece. Can you pick it up and put a sign up for me today in Naples? Not going to happen. My sign guy keeps all my panels. He picks up the signs, he drops them off, and he just keeps the panels wherever he keeps them. I don't even know. So order your sign well in advance. Order your pictures well in advance. I've got 3 photo shoots scheduled right now and 3 sign installations scheduled, and it's through the end of May. Not even May yet.
Is a week in advance good?
Well, it should be. If a week in advance is not good for your sign person, get a new sign person.
Okay.
Usually 3 or 4 days is good. For photographers, a week is, if you want to pick your time and your date, you might have to be a little flexible. I went to go schedule for like May 14th and I couldn't get the time I wanted for my photographer. So what does that tell you though? That tells you listings are coming up. That's encouraging. So you order your sign. This says the day of the listing, what you should do. Now we have the ability in the computer to do all this ahead of time. So it says upload the input form. That's the data input form. You can do all that ahead of time. I actually bring the copy of the data input form to my listing presentation. And I take that information and transfer it over to my computer in transaction desk. I fill out all the data input sheet. I fill out the property condition, or I scan it in and I put it in. I have my listing saved as incomplete before the photos are even taken. I do it when I have time. So if you're sitting around and you have an hour, why not put all the listing information in? Add the supplements, add the agency disclosure, add the franchise disclosure, add the property condition, add the lead-based paint, add the COVID, add the fair housing, put all that in the computer. Kristen, now you did a listing. Did you find that you did all this ahead of time? Was it easier to do it that way? Can't hear you.
I was working with my mentor, so we didn't get it in initially because I didn't know how to do it.
Okay.
So we did upload it later, I would say. And then I also went to Chris Whitus and she showed me how to put everything in DocuSign
Okay.
so that I didn't have, eventually when I get busier, I won't have all these houses stored on my own computer. It's stored in DocuSign.
Okay. Good.
So
I think it's really important to go to the classes GRA offers on Matrix, because they'll teach you how to put a listing in. Some of the videos are great. I do better one-on-one instructions, but unfortunately, staff isn't always available when I need them at 10 o'clock at night when I'm trying to upload a picture or upload a survey that I can't figure out how to transfer to a JPEG to, you know what I mean? It's sometimes this technology is overwhelming. So I really feel like the sooner you can get the information together, the sooner you can ask for help. Right? So you're going to upload your input form, upload your supplements, upload your photos, create an open house if you want to. You can put that right in the MLS. You can create flyers, which nobody's doing right now because the listings are selling so fast and nobody wants to put, you know, touch. We're trying to be very, very careful. Go to the property. Make sure the flyers are there. Put up get your hand sanitizer out. Get your fair housing disclosure in full view. One document, like poster that should be at the house on a counter. Put up the sign rider that says new listing, everything together. Once your listing is in, you can go to Keller Williams listings, go to my KW, and you can share it on your Facebook post. You automatically go out to Zillow, et cetera, et cetera. Now, one thing I want to make clear, be very careful when you hit submit on your listing, because that goes out to all the third-party sites immediately. If you have to have a correction, our system will change immediately, but those third-party sites might not change for a week. So there was something that came up this week. It was on Zillow. It was a 3,049 square foot condo for $124,900 in Fairport. I'm like, whoa. Well, 3,000 whatever, that was the lot size. The agent transposed the lot size in the square footage. I was like, wow, that's quite a good buy. And so my client called me immediately. She goes, let's see this. I go, let me tell you, it's not 3,000 square feet. So I'm still looking at Zillow, and that is still showing up as 3,000 square feet. And the house was listed 3 days ago. Oh, be careful. You can get notification. Oh, set up showing time. Make sure you set up showing time. That is a wonderful tool. So you don't have to have the showings go to the seller if the house is occupied. You have the showing requests go to you. So I'll get a text message that says showing requested for 49 Vanderland Park Thursday at 7. Quickly text my seller, say someone wants to show the house Thursday at 7. Is that okay? Yes. In our market right now, not texting the seller every single time. I actually had the seller move out of this house on Wednesday, and he can come back on Sunday night because we have showings every half hour. We're at 51 showings as of right now. It went in the computer Wednesday. So my seller is very happy with the amount of showings, but he's not going to be happy with how many times he has to leave the house for these showings. So that's something you want to clear up with your seller. Let's talk about blocks of showing time. Can you leave the house from 4 to 6? Can you leave the house from 8 in the morning until 9 at night? Most sellers will look at you like you're nuts. So no, I'm 100% serious. So when you set up your showing time, you can block out times that the seller doesn't want the house shown. It's a great feature. You can also set up what they call courtesy go and show. So because I had my seller move out of 49 Vanderland Park, I don't have to call these agents back and say, yes, it's okay. You can click the button that says courtesy go and show. The computer will automatically confirm the appointment and send that buyer's agent showing instructions. Can you imagine making 51 phone calls to agents confirming appointments since Wednesday? Went in the computer Wednesday morning. Excuse me, I lied. It went in the computer Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. Showing started Wednesday. Can you imagine making all those phone calls? I would consume my whole day making phone calls. So get the system set up. And, you know, I'm lucky the seller agreed to move out. I usually call sellers that are in the house. I will call the night before or text them or even send them a snapshot of the showing schedule that shows up on your on your system. It shows them exactly what time the property is getting shown. Really nice. Next,
Hey, Karen,
properties. Yep.
showing time is an app, right?
Showing time can be an app, but it is also on your MLS system. So when you have a listing, it's a function that you have to set up.
Okay, alrighty.
Honestly, it's easier to set up when you are initiating the listing to put it in the computer.
Uh-huh.
Setting it up on your app on your phone can be a little difficult because if you're blocking out times, it's very hard to do that on your app because you've got to scroll for the time and then you have to select a
Right.
reason and then you have to check a box that says, is this an everyday? Or is it one time exemption? Is it an everyday exemption? And you have to tell your sellers, guess what? You can't just run in the house, get something during a showing. My daughter's house was on the market last week. She ran out of diapers for the baby. She was right around the corner at work. Said, I'm just going to run in the house and grab diapers. I said, no, you're not. You're going to go to Walmart and buy diapers because someone's at the house showing it. So you can't just run in.
Right.
Any questions about that? Next, turn in your paperwork to the office. It can all be done electronically. I'm not here to teach you how to turn in the paperwork. I can tell you as we go further into this, hold on, I'm just gonna scroll. There's two checklists. One is the listing checklist. Here it is. It's coming, it's coming. Sorry. This is your listing checklist. This is the paperwork that you have to turn into the office. There's a system for turning it in electronically through command, DocuSign. Your mentor will help you through this. There are technology classes to help you through this. Most likely you will see me at the technology classes. I gotta learn how to do it too. I'm ready to barter with someone. I'll teach you everything you know how to do a contract, and you do all my paperwork for technology. How's that sound? Anybody for that? No, I know. Okay, so we're to the day of the listing. You can assign your lockbox to the address so that you know what time your lockbox, what time that box is open, and you can see the agent who's opening it. So educate yourself on how Super works for that lockbox. You can set up a broker open with your lender. We aren't doing broker opens right now, but what that was in the past is you would get a whole bunch of, you would have like a mini open house on Thursday from 11 to 1. Your favorite lender would bring some lunch and you would have a whole bunch of agents from your office and other offices come and take a look at your listing. With the market right now, that's not necessary. Don't waste your time. I do see that some, like maybe some $1 million or $1.5 million properties on the lake might have a broker open because they're very exclusive showings. That might be something that you want to consider if you are listing a property like that. One thing I do want to say to you, always reach out if you need help. Always reach out. The only thing that kind of, I can't say annoying, but sometimes it can be disheartening is when an agent might call 5 or 6 different people and ask the same question. Maybe because they don't like the answer person number 1 or number 2 or number 3 gave you, but leadership, knows if someone needs help, and we do it purposely. Like I may say, and I'm just going to use your names. I may say, oh my goodness, I got a call from Kristen and Megan. They really needed help with the listing. Let's get a class set up for them or a one-on-one with Chris so that she can help them. That another person will say, oh my goodness, I got a call too. And I got a call and I got a call. And then I feel kind of bad. Like didn't do a good job with my explanation if Kristen and Megan had to call someone else. Does that make sense? So if you are working with a mentor or someone who is helping you, it doesn't make sense. It's okay to say, I still don't understand this. Still don't get it. I need help. Maybe I need someone else to explain it to me. Is that fair? Do you think that's fair?
Yeah.
Because not everybody explains things the same way. Like this, to me, this class today is a big overview. I'm guessing that you're going to walk away with more questions than you had before you even came to this class,
Probably.
right?
Yes.
Especially if you're already writing, what does she mean by matrix? And what is Monroe County portal site? And what is? All this comes with time. This can be overload. I am here to bulletproof your contract so it closes. You've already done the steps before, like you've gotten the listing, you've gotten the purchase offer. So your mentor has helped you through all of those steps, which I think is extremely valuable. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. You can say no. Right. So, I give my sellers a little heads up on the best way to show the property. First and foremost, the sellers cannot be home, especially during COVID. They can't. The sellers cannot be home during showings. They have to leave. You don't want the sellers there. Ask the sellers to turn the lights on and get out of the house 15 minutes before any scheduled showing. Simple as that. Next, you're going to get offers. Once you get an offer, you are to review offers with the seller. Now we skip to the closing checklist. Now, this is going to be a little bit confusing because it kind of, I overrode purchase and listing together. So there's certain responsibilities a listing agent has. Once your offer has been accepted on your listing, the purchase contract gets emailed to the attorneys and the buyer's lender by the buyer's agent, not by you. Remember, you're a listing agent right now. So it's the buyer's agent responsibility to get that contract to the attorneys and the lender. Am I a control freak? Yes. I ask every buyer's agent to include me in on the email they send to the attorneys with the contract because I want to make sure the attorney has the contract. Your responsibility as the listing agent is to collect the earnest money deposit within 2 days. Make sure you have it. It's the buyer's agent responsibility to get it to you.
So
Everybody-
Karen, in
Yeah.
my instance, the buyer, because I texted him and asked him basically where the check was, and he said it was on its way, and he sent me a picture of it, but that they mailed it.
It's happening a lot right now. The buyer's agent, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. I kind of clear that up with the buyer's agent ahead of time.
Okay.
Once I call them and say, now your offer has been accepted, tell me how you're going to handle the deposit situation. Are you going to pick up the deposit from the buyer and drop it off at my office? Is the buyer going to drop it off at my office? Or is it going to be wired to our office? Or is your intention to put it in the mail? In the past, we never tolerated putting it in the mail. So it had to be there in 24 hours. USPS does not get something to someone's office in 24 hours.
No,
Not 24, 48.
it didn't come for like a week. So if they say mail, do you say no?
I ask them if they could possibly have the buyer drop it off at my office, or if they could possibly pick it up from the buyer and they could drop it off at my office.
Okay.
Can you email it? Can you
Not a
email it?
deposit check. You can wire it.
You can email
Yeah.
it, right? Wire it? Okay.
You can wire it, but they can't email a deposit check because it would just be a
Oh, right,
copy.
right.
Yep.
Not-
Nope, that's
okay.
all right. They good, but they I think you meant they wire it.
Wire
You
it.
got to get the wiring instructions from Noel.
What about Venmo?
No, can't do that yet. No Venmo. I like that
Well,
idea though.
Doing is let always a Venmo, wire it. I mean, hey,
So, out of courtesy to the staff, a lot of buyers agents don't instruct the buyers how to fill out the check properly. So the check might come in, it's just made out to Keller Williams Realty. Noelle and Jackie have no idea what property that is for. Always tell the buyer's agent, the minute you get the check, send it to me. And I look at that and it's like, there's no address on it. So staff doesn't know what property it's for. So I immediately take that check and I forwarded it to Noelle. And the reason I say it's Noelle is I'm on the Brighton office. Forward it to her. Say, hey, this check is coming. It's the good faith deposit for 49 Vanderland Park. I actually send it just to save the staff. Has everybody seen those posts? Hey, deposit check came in for 10 grand. Whose is it?
Yes.
Right? So I give staff a heads up. I send it to Noelle and Jeremy. It's your responsibility to keep an eye out for those attorney approval letters. Make sure the attorney approval letters are in, and read them. Make sure there's no counter offers. Sometimes in the purchase contract, it'll say no permits needed or no building code compliance needed. And the buyer's attorney will put in there that they require permits for all deck, shed, pools. That's counter offer. That is a counter offer. That attorney does not approve that contract as written. If they change one word of it, it is a counter offer. Your sellers have to accept that. So read the attorney's approvals. Once I get the accepted contract, I basically have a paper calendar. I write the dates everything is due, like good faith deposit due this day, attorney's approvals are due this day, buyer's mortgage commitment is due this day. I even write in, okay, it's my listing. I don't get a call from the buyer's bank appraiser within 10 days. Call the buyer's agent and say, hey, FYI, appraiser hasn't called me to come in the house yet. What am I doing? I'm bulletproofing the contract. Bulletproofing. I am following up. Be really astute to that appraisal right now because houses are selling so high over asking. You want to make sure that house prices out. So you can see, like for my little checklist, now I'm on a checklist because I actually use this for checking and I put this in the file. I check the type of financing so I know what to expect, how long things are going to take. I write in what date the mortgage commitment is due. I write when the attorney's approval is due. I write when the property inspection is scheduled for and when that removal has to come in. Now, as the listing agent, you have a mortgage commitment date of May 24th. On May 20th, I'm calling the buyer's agent and say, hey, where are they with the commitment? And I expect a mortgage commitment removal in writing from you on the 24th. It's a contingency of the contract. Anything under contingencies has to be removed from the buyers. In the past, everybody just blew it off. They would send a copy of the commitment to the attorney and say, here you go, here's the commitment. No one ever removed it in writing. It's your responsibility to make sure it's removed in writing.
I'm sorry, can you go through that again?
Okay, so on your listing, a buyer is getting a mortgage, right?
Right.
Let's make believe that mortgage is due May 24th.
Okay.
On May 20th, I'm calling the buyer's agent saying, hey, how are we doing with the commitment? The buyer's agent is going to say, we're good, we're right on track. I'll say, okay. On May 24th, I would expect that you will be sending me a written removal. The buyer has obtained their mortgage. Because guess what? If that buyer hasn't obtained their mortgage by May 24th, on May 25th, the buyer's attorney can send a letter canceling the contract, saying, my buyer has not obtained their mortgage by May 24th. We are canceling the contract, send back the deposit. And you've got to make that phone call to your seller and say, oh, just canceled the contract because they didn't get their mortgage on time. Your seller is going to look at you and say, why weren't you keeping it? Why are we finding this out now? Why weren't you keeping track of it? So if the buyer's agent says to you, I don't think we're going to have it on time, tell the buyer's agent to write an extension.
Okay.
Write an extension. You need, how much time do you need? Why are you backed up? This was happening during COVID. It's all I was doing was writing extensions on everything. Mortgages, property inspections, closings, everything. If your closing is going to be delayed by 1 or 2 days, don't worry about it. But if your closing is going to be delayed more than 3 days, get an extension in writing. Do you understand and see how you need to be on top of this contract? Daily, you need to pay attention to your contracts. It's not love them and leave them. Great, I sold it, I'm done. Your work starts when that purchase offer comes in.
So the buyer's agent, you're saying, needs to send you a written removal
Mortgage commitment.
when the mortgage commitment has gotten there on time.
Yes.
Because I don't remember that.
It's fairly new that they're imposing it.
Okay.
If you look at your contingency removal form,
Uh-huh.
fill out that form.
Okay.
There's probably 30 removals that have to be removed.
Really?
On that form. There's inspection, radon, chimney, well, septic, common driveway agreement, rent review, homeowner association review, mortgage commitment, transfer of title of their existing home. It's your responsibility as a listing agent to keep track. These things have been removed on time, and it's your responsibility as a buyer's agent when you write a contract, make sure you remove these things on time.
So when you say they write that it's been removed, is it a form that they send you? Okay.
No, that's the form I just spoke of.
Okay.
It's the contingency removal form, and your buyer has to just initial it and sign it. Let me see if I can find one. Hang on. That one. All right. I'm doing a new share.
Oh, okay. I think I have that.
Everybody see this?
Yeah.
Look at all the things that you have to keep track of. These are all contingencies that are written in the contract. You have to keep track of. If it's a contingency and it's in on your listing, oh no, my battery is going dead on my computer. Oh no. All right, let's hope. So do you see what I'm talking about? Does this make better sense?
Yes.
Okay. Oh. Wait, I gotta get my, okay, here we go. How's everybody holding up? You okay?
Yeah, pretty good.
Your brain ready to explode?
So with that removal of contingencies, you just go through that with the buyers like step by step, like, okay, building compliance removal, cash transaction appraisal. You just kind of go through everything just step by step.
Only what applies to the contract. So if it's not a cash contract, you don't have to go through the cash.
Sure, right. Okay.
Only what applies to your contract. So let's say it's subject to a septic inspection. Once the listing agent has provided you the septic inspection and the buyer reviews it, says it looks okay, and you can remove it. Not give advice to your buyer to say it looks okay. Are you a septic person? No. Are you a well person? No.
Right.
So I've actually reached out to attorneys and say, hey, can you review the septic inspection for your buyer? You know what the attorney said? Have them call another septic company and ask them what they think. Attorneys don't want to put their butts on the line, so I'm not going to put my butt on the line.
Right, exactly.
I'm not an engineer. I'm not a radon person. I am not a flooring or mold expert.
Mhm.
They need to do the research, and I review this with them when I have my consultation with them. Don't look to me for legal or remodeling or mold advice. I'll tell you what I know, but I'm always going to refer you to the expert.
Right.
Please do not ever cross that line. But in regards to which removals you use, only the ones that apply to your specific contract. You see that there's so many because those removals apply to different contracts.
Right. And if they don't apply, you just leave them blank and they don't have
to worry about it. Correct.
Right. Okay.
Can you repeat what you just said a second ago? Because I don't know if it was my speaker that cut out. I just saw your mouth moving for like 2 sentences.
Was it about removals of contingencies?
I don't know, because you just started to talk and then it cut out.
We were talking about you only remove the contingencies that apply to your particular contract. So if yours is not a cash contract, then you don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
It's only the boxes you check on the purchase offer.
Okay.
But again, we're still on the listing end, so it's your responsibility as a lister to make sure these contingencies are removed. So let's say your listing has a septic and septic report was sent to the buyer's agent, and the buyer's agent has 3 days to respond to you, basically saying, yes, we find everything is okay, and put it in writing. The buyer has to sign up. They've reviewed the septic inspection and they find it okay. Once you are responsible to make sure that comes back to you, the buyer has signed off, and then you send it to your seller's attorney to make sure they know.
You can't really like make the client do this stuff on time, but you have to be on them about that, right? So
you can make them do it on time.
Okay. Because like it has to get done. Like what if they like slip and like don't get it done on time?
They could lose the house.
Right. They can't be mad at you for that, or at me. Like they can.
That's why email is wonderful. I put everything in writing to my buyers.
Right.
I explain everything to my buyers 3 times, where my buyers are like, stop being my mother. It's kind of like, hey guys, you got to review the septic inspection. It just came in. We have 3 days to respond. Well, it came in on a Friday. What if I have questions? We have to ask for an extension if you feel like you have questions.
Right.
And guess what? Septic people work over the weekend, so put a call into them.
Right. Yeah.
You really have an obligation. Now, if I'm the listing agent and your buyer is consistently, if you're the buyer's agent and you are consistently asking me for extensions, I'm going to get really nervous. because that means they're not getting their paperwork into the bank
Mm-hmm.
and they're not getting their good faith deposit in. They're like Kristen, the first thing you said is it took a week to get the check. I would be all over that agent
Yeah.
constantly. Like if that appraiser isn't there in 10 days, I call that agent and say, hey, appraiser's not there. 10 days after that, I call the agent and say, is the appraisal back? Is everything okay? I called an agent 2 days ago on a listing and said, is the appraisal back? He hasn't called me. Wait till I call him today. Not gonna be as nice. I mean, I'm nice. Don't get me wrong. I don't get anywhere being nasty, but I do clip a different tone to my voice. Like I really mean business here.
Yeah, you got things to get done.
Yeah, I don't want to have to, I want to cross it off my list. I don't want to come back to it tomorrow, the next day. I don't want to keep going there.
Karen, as the seller,
Mhm.
how can we find out what the house appraised for? I mean, should we be asking? Because
I don't ask what it actually appraises for. I just want to make sure that the value came in okay
okay.
according to the purchase price, and are there any repairs required? Those are the questions I asked. And they'll say something like, well, it's an underwriting. Well, let me just tell you something. On the mortgage commitment date, let's go back to May 24th. It specifically says in there, if appraisal is outstanding, it is not a mortgage commitment. So if you're talking to the buyer's agent and you are not getting answered like, oh, we've got a mortgage commitment, but it's subject to an appraisal, I let that buyer's agent know. There's no mortgage commitment. Read the clause.
Right.
When is the appraisal going to be in? This is a very important factor right now because houses are not appraising out. They're appraising less than purchase price. And we want to know sooner or later. Usually, if the house doesn't appraise out, the loan officer will call the buyer's agent and say, we have a problem before it goes any further into the mortgage process, usually. But there's a lot of agents out there who are not tracking it. Loan officers aren't that great and they think, well, we'll just reduce the purchase price and everybody will go along with it. No, it's not what's happening. If that house doesn't appraise out for purchase price that's on the contract, the whole loan to value changes. Let's say they paid 300 and the house appraised out for 270.
So when you get your initial, say, 10 offers, do you go back to the select few that you're interested in and say, if the house doesn't appraise and there is a difference, is your buyer available to pay the difference? Do you have
I do that when I accept the offers.
Okay.
Not a lot of buyers want to do that though. They say that they'll make up the difference. We just had one in our office. There was a $70,000 difference.
Wow.
You think that buyer wants to pay 70 grand over what the bank says? I don't even want to know. I didn't touch that one. I'm like, someone else that question. I have no idea. Luck.
So do you have them write that in the contract, the buyer, when they send it back? Okay.
Yep. Okay, so do you see how important it is to follow up with information that you need for that contract?
Yes.
Okay, so you see here where it says removal of inspection contingencies received. It's not just inspection contingencies, it's everything. This is old, complete the green sheet and email all forms to the market center. That's not how it works anymore. You put it into command and I'll revise this before I send it out to you guys. It goes into command and then you are able to, everything is done electronically. Oh, I just had a little goose come to my window with a duck with babies. Oh, they're so cute. You want to see them? Look.
I had a red fox run through about 10 minutes ago, Karen, behind my backyard.
Oh my goodness, look. See them?
Oh.
The babies. The babies. You see them over by the duck? Oh, they're gone. Okay,
What
how
lake
cute.
is that?
Canisius.
Oh, nice.
I was going to guess Cuca. It looked like Cuca to me.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm in a Little League. Close
Reese's
to the,
Coffee.
close to the office.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Makes
it
sense,
does.
living sense.
27 minutes door to door. It's perfect. Love it. Okay. Guys want to take a 10-minute break?
Yep.
How's your brains? Are they going?
Yep.
Definitely a lot of information. Like it's like you go through one class and then it's like you get to the next one and it's like even more. And it's just
I have to say though, after I listened to your class before I had done one, and now I've done one listing and
Yeah, it makes
listening
more
to
sense.
it again, it definitely does. I'm still blown away, but it definitely makes more sense.
Well, and that's, as I said, it's not uncommon for me to see people here 2, 3, 4 times.
Yes.
Because, you know, they pick up something different. And if you're like me, if I don't understand something, my brain just shuts down. I'm not getting anything after that. So it's like, okay, catch up, calm down, calm down, calm down, let it make sense, and then I can come back to the class. But everybody has a different way of doing business and a different way of learning. I think if I were to teach a real estate class for like a licensing class, the very first thing I would say is this is not HGTV, people.
I've heard that before.
A ton of independent study and learning. You just finished your 4-year degree. Now you're getting your master's. Because this is legalities. And, you know, Andy, God bless you, because commercial to me is like Latin. I'm like, don't even go there with me with commercial. But everybody has their niche. I commend you that you can do commercial. I hope that residential is better for you, but I think you're going to be hit with a lot of forms, you know, in regards to paperwork.
Yeah, I spent a lot of my career in caring for people, assisted living and home care. And I feel like I'm kind of like, I should have probably gone into residential from the beginning because that's kind of where my heart is, like helping people or whatever. And commercial was just like, it was like, you know,
it's all
robotics,
business.
and it was just, it was numbers. And someone quoted the other day that they think most commercial realtors are more like mini MBAs or mini CPAs. And
yeah,
it's kind of true. And it just wasn't for me. So
it's hard. Okay, so it is 10:25. Let's come back at 10:35. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, cool. See you then. So I can't go on my email right now. So I'm gonna say, if you could just forward it to me, I'll follow. Oh, thank you. So I'll look at it.
Karen, you just made all my memories flashback of Canisius Lake.
Oh, yeah, you were a little kid.
I know. Well, they sold their house when I was probably close to 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people who bought it, put this big, huge addition over the garage, and they attached the house to the garage.
I know.
And then they sold it. There's new people in there again.
Oh, they did sell it? So I know it was on the market for a really long time.
It was
I
a real
guess
long
they
time.
didn't winterize it when they went to Florida, and all the flooring on the first floor got ruined. So they had some big issues. So it took them a really long time to sell, I think.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's not good.
No.
Oh, boy.
At least that's what my cousin said. I haven't seen
I
it in a
believe
very
it.
long
Yeah.
time.
There is zero for sale on the lake right now.
Oh, I
Zero.
bet.
It's like crazy, crazy, crazy. You know, kind of leans into what else is happening out there in the market. There's just nothing. I mean, I would love to size down and get something smaller, but there's nothing.
Yeah.
I just don't want to take care of the house anymore. Wish they had
What
condos.
side are you on?
I'm on the west side now.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Really liked McPherson's Point, but we couldn't find anything. We looked for 7 years.
Oh, really?
After we sold our little, we called it the camel house. I mean, the floors were like a camel. It went like this. It was crazy.
Oh.
But it was a cottage. I mean, and we decided we wanted year round. But we've been here like 11 years.
Oh, nice.
Yep. So it's kind of simplifying, wanting to simplify. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll
Karen,
see. Yes,
it's Kristen. Just curious, do you use a paper planner or do you have everything electronic for like
I
when you
am so old school,
due
Kristen.
date?
I can show you. I have this like calendar that looks crazy. Like, can you see this?
Yeah.
It's a mess.
I was just curious if you were electronic or paper with all the due dates that you write down.
Well, you know, I used to be really good, like you have different color markers to really, now I just realize that that took up too much time and I just have to do every single thing on my list every day. It doesn't matter what color marker it is. I
Yeah.
just have to do it. And I am one of these, honestly, who one of the very first things I do, I try to plan from 7:30 to 8 o'clock every morning, get every single email out that I possibly can,
Okay.
so that by the end of the day, I have an answer.
Right.
I know a lot of people like, oh my gosh, I turned my phone off. Don't email me. Well, don't turn your phone off. What can I say? You know, I turn my phone off now. 9 o'clock at night, the calls, only the emergency calls come through.
Okay.
There's nothing worse than getting, you know, a text or an email at 2:15 in the morning saying, I want to see this house tomorrow. Shoot me. I've learned to make it very, very clear that, you know, my working hours are pretty much 8 till 8. And I don't want to hear from you after 8 o'clock at night unless it's an absolute emergency. I know some people work 3 to 11, but we discuss that when I meet with the people. They don't need to know that one of my appointments is to babysit my granddaughter every Tuesday.
Right.
They don't need to know that. They just need to know that I have an appointment.
That you're busy.
I learned also, you know, when I got a call, I was so excited. It's like, okay, what time would you like me to come over? Can you come over Friday night at 7? It's like, oh, it's my family fish fry time. So instead, now I'll say, are you available Thursday at 5 o'clock or Saturday morning at 10 better?
Right.
The Ignite scripting classes are really, really good. It kind of protects your life.
Yeah.
I also am not a fan of being the answer to someone else's emergency. I think it was Brandon who said, what if people don't get things in on time? Not my problem.
I have a question for you too. I'm actually up north in Pulaski right now at our cabin in the woods, and I have a friend who wants to buy up here. So I sent him a listing, but I know it's not from Monroe County. So can I still help him and be the buyer's agent for him?
Yep.
Okay.
You might want to make friends with an agent up there because they might have different forms.
Right.
When you call, just explain that you're a realtor from Rochester. Do they have specific forms, et cetera, et cetera? I've gotten calls from agents and they might be in Watertown or Albany and say, hey, you know, I want to show these properties, blah, 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 blah. I don't have a lockbox key to get into your service. I don't have this, I don't have that. And I really come right out and say, do you ever think of just referring it? Because how do you, like, you have a place up there, so you know the area, but how do you really consult with someone to say, this is a good buy?
Right.
Our MLS system does reach that far, so you're able to show properties. But my understanding is a lot of companies up there don't use the MLS. Private sales or they're exclusive.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you investigate the real estate companies so that you're showing your buyer every property that's out there.
Okay.
Are you going to drive up there every time they want to see something?
We're up here quite a bit, so.
I don't know what the market's like there. I don't know if they go in a day or what it's like.
They're on the market a little bit longer because these are remote places that I'm looking at for him.
Gotcha. I mean, I'm working with a couple now that the agent lives in Buffalo and she's referred them here. So I've referred people to even like Batavia because I don't know the market.
Right.
I had a client who wanted me to show them a mobile home in Alden, which is Buffalo, this past week. I'm like, nope. Let me refer you.
Yeah.
I have a
Well,
question.
Sure.
It's about buying actually. So this might seem like a stupid question, but
No question is stupid.
let's say I was ready to buy a house. Do I have to get my own agent or can I be my own agent?
You can be your own agent. You just have to disclose that you're looking at the property for yourself.
Okay. All right.
On any agency disclosure, if you are in any way related to your buyer, if it's your child, your sister, your brother, your aunt, your uncle, disclose it.
Okay.
Disclose. Okay, is everybody ready to go?
Karen, just quick question if I could. What
Sure.
about girlfriend? Is that non-related but girlfriend? Disclose it just in case? That's my listing next week.
it's not a relation.
No,
Right.
I mean, it is, but it's not blood.
Right, I guess.
Or are you supposed to?
Okay, I'm
disclose you're telling,
gonna flip this around. I'm gonna say to you, you were showing the house, you wrote an offer on it, and you found out it was the listings agent's girlfriend. Would it make a difference to you or your buyer? I think it would.
Yeah, I was gonna say no, it doesn't make a difference to me, but I guess it's an easy thing to disclose. If it does affect someone, then you're covered.
I mean, this is a personal question, but are you living in the house also?
No,
Okay,
it'll be vacant. It'll be vacant.
property will be vacant?
Yeah.
I think I'd call the legal hotline on that one and ask, because I don't know. I did that word a lot, I'm sorry.
Gotcha, no problem.
But I'd rather be sure.
Yeah.
Good question. I don't know. Let me know the answer.
Yeah, I'm glad I asked. I will.
I am too. Okay.
so do you normally have to disclose any family members' homes that you're listing? Oh, I didn't know that.
If it is their listing or if you're showing it.
What's that?
I'm sorry, what did you say, Megan?
If you're listing someone's home? Okay, so if it's like my mom's or my siblings or, okay.
Yeah, definitely.
I did not know that, okay.
Yes. I put it right on the agency disclosure that I put on the attachments, and I put it in the private remarks. I just listed my daughter's house on 170 Sanford Street. I think I had it. The very first thing in private remarks is seller is daughter of listing agent. And I put it on the agency disclosure. And then, of course, I'm sure people were very careful with their feedback, like, oh, really nice house, when they thought it was a horrible house, but you never know. Okay, ready? Any more questions? I'm gonna try not to make your brains explode. All right, here we go. So closing checklist. You've taken the listing agent, you've made sure that the appraisal is done, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I usually check in a couple weeks after the appraisal just to make sure. I check in actually with the attorneys, how we doing with the title work. I make sure the attorneys have a copy of the mortgage commitment. You'd think that most of the banks would send it to the attorneys, but they don't always do that. But a couple weeks before closing, I'll say to the attorney, how are we doing with the title and the survey? Where are we at? Are we on target for closing? 50% of the attorneys don't answer, 50% do. I love the real estate attorneys who keep you informed every step of the way. Email. Some of them like Dave Ballinger's office, every time they correspond with my buyer or seller, they copy me in. Like survey and abstract were ordered today. We have received a copy of the mortgage commitment. We are waiting for the clear to close from the bank and we will set up the closing date. Mr. or Mrs. Seller, make sure you have the utilities taken out of your name as of the closing date and you order final readings. Cancel your cable and your garbage pickup. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, do the reverse, set up utilities in your name. I love those kind of attorneys because they take a little bit off my hands, although I still remind my buyers, hey, we're going to close on Friday. Don't wait until Thursday to have utilities set up in your name. We've got to know if you need to take readings or we need to take readings at the final walkthrough. As a listing agent, it really isn't your responsibility to call the buyer's agent and say, hey, we've got a closing date. When are you going to do the walkthrough? I like to do that because I want to know when they're going to do the walkthrough so that I can go back to that house, take the lockbox off, and order the sign down. I also want to make sure that, acting as an agent of the seller, that the attorney has a key at closing. The buyer is due a key at closing. Nothing worse than 5 o'clock on Friday, having the buyer's agent call you and say, hey, they're finished closing, there's no key. What am I supposed to do about it? If the key, I already took the lockbox off. I gave the seller back their key. I can tell you what I usually do though when I take the lockbox off. I shouldn't do this, but I do it. I hide the key on the property somewhere. I have a little thing of baggies in my car, little plastic baggies. I wrap the key up in a baggie and I put it under a stone or under a fence. I hide that key somewhere on the property. When I get notification the property has closed successfully, call the buyer's agent and say, hey, want you to know I hid a key under the rock, under the third step, the back porch. Can I tell you how many times that saved both of us a lot of headaches because the attorneys didn't have a key at closing? Unfortunately, you live and learn. You learn by your mistakes. So as you go through this closing checklist, you know, we've already talked about a lot of these things. It's really most important that you follow through. You know, there's a couple things, contract checklist. I'm on page 3 of 8 right now. We're pretty much through. It says on here, attend the appraisal. We don't attend appraisals anymore. Make sure you have a sale pending rider or sold rider on that sign. That's great advertisement. If the bank has, when you touch base with the buyers about the appraisal, as I said before, did it appraise for value? Are there any repairs? You want a list of repairs that you have to put forth to your seller to see if your seller is going to do them. You know, I keep track of my listings in regards to if the listing has a septic. I remind my sellers that they have the septic inspection by a certain date, and I have to have the report to the buyer's agent so they can review it. Again, you take that purchase contract and you add all of this to your calendar. If you have, you know, we used to always have to make sure that the buyer had insurance. Now the bank won't issue a clear to close unless the buyers have a homeowner's insurance policy. Don't worry about that so much. Make sure the closing date has been shared to all parties. Sometimes your sellers or your buyers will get a phone call from their attorney and you don't know. That's why I like certain attorneys, because they include me. When you do the final walkthrough, even if they say, you know, they got all the readings, I still, if the utilities are readable, meaning they're not electronic, I still snap a picture of the gas meter, of the water meter. There's a propane tank. I look at the measurement and I snap a picture of it. There's propane or oil, you've got to remind your buyers that at closing, they're going to get a bill for the remainder of the oil or the propane in the tank. So be prepared for that. Also, when you're going to pick up your lockbox, if you have someone you're paying to install your signs, make sure you take your rider off. If you don't, and make sure you have your name on your sign rider. Can't tell you how many I lost because I threw a sold sign up on the rider and then I forgot to take it down. Those add up. All right, let's scroll to the next page. This is a more detailed explanation of listing contracts and your responsibility for the office. Again, we're contracts to close. All pages have to be filled out, signed, and initialed where indicated. Further down in this package, you're going to see a listing checklist and a purchase contract checklist. Those are the required forms for the office. Say required with tongue in cheek because not every form applies to every property. For example, there's a data input form for single family homes. Well, if you're listing a condo, that's not the correct form. That's why I need to consistently take you back to Matrix. Go into grar.org, go into contracts and forms, and study them. It's a second means of getting all the forms you need that are not Keller Williams specific. I'll be honest, every time I get a notification that there's a new form from the board, upload it and put it in a folder on my desktop. Sometimes when I just need one form, I don't want to go through 15 steps to find the one form. So every single purchase offer, addenda, AW form, contingency removal, data input sheet, I have in a folder. It's labeled real estate on my desktop, and inside that folder is another file that says forms. It is all forms specific to Keller Williams. Or not Keller Williams, it's specific to my business, everything, listing contracts, purchase contracts, everything. When I'm sitting there bored, sometimes I read through those forms and I look at it and go, oh, that's an old form, I forgot to delete it. Pay attention, be 100% focused when you're doing this type of busy work. It will make your life simpler in the future. So when we do the listing contracts, you can read through this. I don't have to read this to you. If it's an estate, ask for the copy of the signed executor appointment. It is a power of attorney, ask for the POA authority. Andy, you worked with the elderly, you know how important that is to have the right person making the decisions, correct? Right. Keep track of your dates, watch the expiration dates. Do not love them and leave them. Don't do that to your clients. I've been doing this 43 years. My business, well, I figured it out. I forgot when, maybe last year, was 98.9% referral. I didn't have to lead generate. I love it. It should be after that long. Your most important business is your referral business. Even if you're talking to someone about real estate and they're not going to buy or sell, you know someone who is. Keep your database in order. There's so many things that you can do with the database. I just learned this new cool thing. I don't even know what it's called. I call it neighborhood notification. I have all these people in my database that I sold houses to in the past, and friends and family. There's a program through Keller Williams command site that once every so often an email goes out to all my contacts and says, look what's happening in your neighborhood. It shows like the sale prices and homes for sale within a couple mile radius of where my client lives. Well, obviously I have to have my client's address in there for this notification to go out. Two people who I have just, one is listed, Vanderlyn Park, and another one is pending, 885 North Reefs Road. I sold those houses to those young gentlemen 4 and 5 years ago, respectively. They got this neighborhood notification I sent, and both of them emailed me or called and said, are you kidding me? Can I really get that much for my house? And I'm like, yep, so come over, I'm selling it. Yay! Guess what I did? Set up a program and I don't have to do anything ever again. I love that kind of stuff. Did I like learning how to do it? Absolutely not. Did I cry every time I had to put a contact in and didn't know what column to put in? Yes. But my husband helped me, so it was really good. And staff will help you. If you have any kind of database on an Excel sheet, anything in your phone, you can put addresses in your phone and send them over to a sheet. I don't know how to do it. Don't ask me, but I know you can do that. All right. In regards to any permits that your seller might have, ask them if they have any. Oftentimes they don't. If someone is requiring permits as the purchase offer, under the understanding that the town will charge you as a realtor to go pick them up, Greece charges $35. But if the seller goes into the town and says, I want these, I'll give them to them for free. Something called FOIL, Freedom of Information Letter. It's a letter that the seller has to sign for some towns. They're going to let out this information to you. I can't say this enough. You look at number 7, keep track of your dates. Keep track of your dates, keep track of your dates, keep track of your dates. So important. You're going to get so good at this that when all of a sudden a purchase contract comes in and you're going to say, oh my goodness, this house is closing on May 28th. I'm going to be on vacation. Pre-plan someone to go over there and get your lockbox, right? It's easy, or else you're going to make yourself nuts. Keep your sellers up to date at all times. Make sure your sellers know. If you find out they got a mortgage commitment, send an email or call your sellers. If you find out that the buyer's mortgage was approved, call them. If the buyers sign off on the inspection report, let them know. The best thing you can do is over communicate. Stay in communication with the buyer's agent also. Even if they get you angry, stay in communication. Fair? So, FYI, agents know if you're new. They don't know by how you're behaving. They know because you have an ID number. You're given an ID number at the board. So if your ID number is 52076, blah, 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 I can say, wow, this agent is relatively new and they're writing a purchase offer and I see it on the purchase offer, or they have a listing and I see it on the listing. It doesn't mean you know less than the other person. You probably, I can guarantee you every single person on this call knows more than I do technology wise, but that doesn't mean I can't do a good job, because you as a newer agent have more time than the busy, crazy agents who do 30 contracts a month give to your clients and to learn. And you've got a staff, a mentor, and people who you can pick up the phone and call because they want you to succeed. Added this little form. It's called Bulletproof Your Contract. You know, make sure the buyer has enough money to buy a home. Now we're going to start talking about buyers a little bit. Buyer can go make a phone call or call anybody to get pre-qualified. How thorough is that loan officer in vetting that buyer? They ask them how long have they been working? Do they have savings? That's why we have what we call preferred lenders at Keller Williams, because they know our expectations. When I send a buyer to a loan rep, not only do I want a pre-qual letter, I want a copy of their good faith estimate. I want to know how much money they're going to need to buy a home. And I want to explain to my buyer, this is your down payment, these are your bank closing costs, this is the money you need for escrow. Most buyers think, oh, I just need 10% down and I'm good. Well, buy a $110,000 house, buyers need $14,000, $15,000. They're going for a 3% down payment. They think they need $3,500. It's not that way. You Yes, there are programs that have seller concessions. Right now, we can't get those transactions through. We can't get those buyers a house because they're asking for concessions. There's no inventory. Put on this little sheet, Premium Mortgage has an amazing program for 20% down with buyers with a 700 credit score. You can basically write all offers cash. What that means is they are guaranteed a mortgage. They're guaranteed. So you can perfectly write a purchase offer subject to them getting a mortgage, but you put forth a pre-qual letter from Premium Mortgage and it says, I guarantee this buyer a mortgage. Well, of course, it's going to be as long as they're still working and things like that. But that means Premium Mortgage has vetted this buyer. They've looked at their tax returns. They've looked at their bank accounts. They've really done their homework. Premium Mortgage also has this app, which makes my life easier. They send you what they call a pre-qual calculation. You can put a house with the taxes, with the buyer's down payment, and it immediately spits out a pre-qual letter and spits you a buyer's closing cost sheet. So they know, the buyer knows exactly what their mortgage payment is going to be and how much money they need to buy the house. In the olden days, we used to have to figure all that out by hand. Some technology is really good, is what I'm trying to say. Take your time and learn it. Dates on contract. Oh my God, how many times did I say the same thing? I'm sick of hearing myself say it. Addenda. Make sure you know what the addenda on the contracts mean. For example, for FHA, you need an all parties agreement. What does that form mean? We go over this at the purchase offer class. What it basically means is the house has to appraise out for what the buyer pays for it, or the buyer doesn't have to buy it, nor does the seller have to come down in price. Works the same way for VA, but it's an additional form you need if you have an FHA buyer. No information is too little for your mentor. What I mean by that is tell your mentor everything about the buyer. Because if you've got an FHA buyer and all of a sudden they're losing houses and losing and losing and losing, and you say, my goodness, in this time frame, the buyer has been able to save an additional $5,000 or $6,000, may turn into a conventional buyer, which makes their contract more appealing. One thing I can suggest is if this is a lot of information. If you can get yourselves into the office and just sit outside an agent's door, listen to them talk, hear what they're talking about, so much of this will make so much more sense. I'm going to tell you, busy agents in the office, when they see a newer agent trying to learn, trying to understand, they're going to grab that agent and say, do you want to go on an appointment with me? I'm going to go show a house. Do you want to do an open house for me? Would you like to do a showing for me? When they see an effort, they will absolutely reach out to you. I have 2 agents in the office that were there again before COVID, guys. I would see them in that office learning, listening, learning, listening, learning, listening. And one day I had to run out and show a house and I said, hey, you want to come with me or you want to meet me there? They're like, yeah, sure. Actually, the buyer was an engineer. The buyer was so wonderful. And I said, hey, this is a new agent. They're learning. The buyer explained what kind of heating system it was, what the circuit breakers look like, what style of house, what to look for, what a roof flashing was, what kind of windows they were. This was my engineer buyer. I would sit there like, oh my God. But he was wonderful with this new buyer. If you happen to see open houses, go into them, educate yourselves. Please don't take a slot for a showing for you to educate yourselves. There's too many buyers that want to get into houses. But, certain agents tend to be in the office on certain days. I know I have invited agents to just sit in my office. They can do their work. I can do my work if nobody else is in my office, because I share an office with 3 other individual agents. No one's in there. I'll just let them sit and listen. And I'll yap away and say, this is what I'm doing now. This is the phone call I'm going to make. It's a good learning experience. if you feel that your personality is a fit with that agent. That agent rubs you wrong or you just can't learn from them, don't waste your time. That's not what's going to come natural to you. I can say this, you don't have to sell a house sells itself. You just have to know how to make it work. There's nothing you can do to talk a buyer into buying a house they don't want or like. We're really not salesperson. Well, I don't know what we are, but we're, I don't consider myself a salesperson. I consider myself a consultant with lots of knowledge how to make it work. So addenda, pay attention to those addenda, what you do and don't need. At my buyer's presentation, I talked to them about radon. I talked to them about home inspections, chimney inspections, pest inspections. We go through all of this at the buyer consultation, and I recognized a lot of the faces that they were at the purchase offer boot camp. These classes are recorded. I don't see them being recorded anymore. Maybe I used up all my time, but
No, it's being recorded.
is it good? Go back to these classes, because they can be helpful to you. Can be really boring too, but they're helpful. Agricultural disclosure, as I say, if you see cows, if you see fences, if you see tractors, you're in an ag district. Simple as that. Fill out the form. Make yourself aware of the home warranty and the Keller Williams franchise disclosures. Know what Oasis Insurance Company is. It's a great referral for savings for your buyers and sellers. A great insurance company. We are trying to provide value for our clients. That's what these forms are about. Know that in Wayne County, there's a specific disclosure. So if you are selling in Wayne County, make sure you keep in your head, disclosure, Wayne County, disclosure, Wayne County. Make sure you know that. Always have all of your forms signed and initials. Staff will click it back, and then you're going to spend 15 minutes figuring out what you did wrong. What a waste of time. Before I send my paperwork in, I check every single initial box. I make sure I have all the forms so that I don't have to address one more email from anybody because I was not diligent. Understand what an escalation clause and right of first refusal. In regards to commission statements, I've had this question a lot. In your in the know file, there are commission statements if you're in a situation with a for sale by owner. Make sure you get paid. Cash offers.
Quick question.
Yes.
Just curious about the Wayne County. Is that a Gannett thing or is that, what's the disclosure there, Gannett?
Doesn't say Gannett, but that's exactly what it's for.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
It says gaseous something and the other one doesn't. Gases. Something about gases. Well, obviously, if Gannett explodes, we got a lot more to worry about than disclosures. But, we do have to make them aware the Gannett nuclear plant is in that county.
Gotcha.
It kind of kills me because is all that gas going to stop at the Webster line?
No.
Really? Kind of like an ag disclosure. The odors and noise stop at the fence at the lot line. They don't. Sign it.
Funny.
Say here, establish a working relationship with the other agent. It might not work from you, but we're always going to learn. We might learn, wow, they did a really good job like that, or I am never going to do that. So always look at every opportunity as a learning experience. Whether you like how they did business, if you don't like how they did business, that is more of a learning experience. Their firm and tone of voice as I am today, that may be off-putting to you. I just can't impress upon you enough how important it is for you to know your forms and be knowledgeable about your forms so that you know the right form to pull at a moment's notice. Know your business. You don't have to know the answers to everything, but know what you need as far as paperwork goes. You are not making any money unless you're getting signatures on listing contracts and purchase offers. We want to see you make money. Again, I might sound very, very firm, but I'm a really easy agent to work with if you sell one of my listings because I'm rejoicing just like you are. It's like paycheck, paycheck, paycheck. I'm going to finally get paid. I'm excited. I want to work with you. This is your listing checklist, and you see it comes from Greater Keller Williams Greater Rochester. It's for both the Brighton and the West office. On the right-hand side, you'll see a little compliance check mark. You don't need to worry about that. This is the newest checklist that you must follow when your paperwork goes in. Doesn't look like much for all the work you just did for a listing, does it? This instruction as to when this is due. Once the listing is in the computer, the office expects to have this in the office within 2 days. Please be aware of New York State rules, what you can and cannot say in private and public remarks. You can't say nice, quiet neighborhood. You can't say, oh my gosh, there's so many things you can't say. My mind is like blank. You can't say family neighborhood. It's like, yes, you have to be so sterile in what you say. Try to make it a little exciting in your remarks, like inviting foyer entrance, lovely landscaping. And I got reprimanded from the board because with COVID, our initial guidelines, I thought, were no children were allowed in the house. Well, those were the guidelines, but we couldn't put that in the MLS. I put it in. I put agent and 2 buyers only, no children. Well, I immediately got my hand slapped. Like, no, you can't say no children. All right, I'll take it out. Please
So
follow
what
the
if somebody
rules.
shows up with their children? Then what?
Tell them ahead of time. I know it's hard. I mean, what are they going to do? I've known if there's little kids that run around, I tell them, I'm going to open the door for you. And how about if one of you goes in at a time and one stays in the car with the kids?
Right.
I've done that. If someone's walking in holding a little baby, don't say anything. No, and it's pretty sad because most people want to look at the house together, and I get it, but we're only trying to protect the kids.
Right.
Listen, I just got off of quarantine because my 2-year-old granddaughter's daycare shut down because a 2-year-old in her class had COVID. So, you know, my 3rd quarantine, not already.
I've
But
been through like 4 of them, so I feel you.
unbelievable. But you know, we only want to be safe. I put in my remarks that it's very important that all doors are locked. And remember, oh, this is what I want to bring up. A lot of people have ring your doorbells and they have surveillance. There's a lot of discrepancy on what is legal or illegal. I think people who are videoing and audio when their house is being shown, I don't think they're going to care what's legal or illegal. They're going to do what they want to do. So always be cautious of what you're saying in the house or what you're saying at the doorbell.
Especially with Alexa.
Yeah, with Alexa too. Oh man, I couldn't get a freaking combo box open on one house. It was like frozen shut. There was like a string of words that came out of my mouth as I'm taking my gloves off and I'm freezing and this thing is frozen and I can't open it. All of a sudden I get a call from the listing agent. He's like, "You having problems with the lockbox?" Oh my God, you heard me. He goes, "Oh, I didn't hear you. The sellers heard you. They're hysterical laughing." I'm like, "Oh, thank God they have a sense of humor." I go, "But I think you gave me the wrong code." He goes, "That's why I'm calling. I gave you the wrong code." I go, "So it's your fault." And I'm screaming at him. The sellers are still listening on their ring your doorbell. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. So you do have to have somewhat of a sense of humor. Just be careful what you say. Unbelievable. You know, you can't walk in and say, "My goodness, this house smells like dog." That'll be the person who has the surveillance, right? You can put it in your remarks like there was a strong odor of an animal in the house, but you just have to be careful because sellers are really sensitive. This is the purchase offer checklist. You can see that it's quite a bit longer because they talk a lot more about disclosures. They talk about sale and transfer of title removals. There's a lot happening on the purchase offers. Again, make sure you are not taking a step without your mentor's consent or knowledge. so that you can really, really do a good job bulletproofing your contract. Let's talk about, I know this is supposed to go to 12. I kind of got through everything. Let's take the next 15 minutes, answer questions. If you want to go through any of these forms, if you want me to go back to a certain page, I will. No question is silly or stupid. I'd rather you ask it. It also helps me understand that I didn't explain something very well. Now, don't be afraid to ask questions now because I just said that, but you understand what I'm saying. Anybody have questions? Okay, Andy, I'm going to pick on you a little bit because you're going on a listing.
Okay.
All right. Well, how far are you into the analysis of this property?
I've not done anything formally. I've looked at, I pulled up several websites that are generic ones before I had access to like Keller Williams things and stuff. I've looked at it on the I think I looked at it on the MLS. I think I pulled it from there.
Okay, great.
So I've looked at the history. I've looked at what it sold for before, that type of thing, taxes.
Perfect.
So I'm also familiar with the home, obviously. So I had some previous knowledge.
Good. Now, what about possession?
Possession?
Mm-hmm.
As far as when can it be possessed?
Yes.
It's going to be immediate.
Okay, good. That's a great feature to put. So possession available at closing.
Okay.
Right? That's a great feature to put in there because a lot of sellers have to find a house and a buyer can't get in there right away, right? The sellers want to rent back. So possession at closing is great. Of course, you don't want pre-possession because the buyer gets in there and nitpicks the house and then holds the seller hostage for closing.
Right.
So you're probably going to spend some time doing what I call CMA. It's a current market analysis. You're going to go in the computer and search for surrounding homes in the neighborhood that are for sale, first of all, with no criteria. Then you're going to take the town and the school district and punch in same properties, like properties, 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, 1,500 square feet, 1-car garage, and see what comes up. Because that could be very different than what's going on in the neighborhood. Right?
Yep.
You go through the process with your girlfriend. It's very important that you go through that process and she understands. I'm going to tell you, it's hardest to work with family and friends because you just assume they know what you're talking about. My daughter right now is the biggest pain in my butt that you can imagine. I'm like, please already. Okay, you sold your house, but you can't look at houses because you're still subject to transfer title. It's still a contingency. You're not going to get a house.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. I want to hear your question.
I was gonna say, how do you like accurately figure out? So I have this friend, and they're like basically family to me, but they're gonna be selling at some point, and like they'll ask me questions and stuff, but like, how would you accurately find out how much you could actually list their house for? Do you know what I mean?
That's a function. It's a market value analysis class.
Mhm.
You're doing basically an appraisal. You go in, and GRAR has this class too. You go in and you do a market value report and see, you search the surrounding properties, you find like properties that have sold.
Mhm.
I'm going to tell you what my listing presentations look like right now. I suggest you list at this price because we have statistics listed at this price. I have absolutely no idea what you're going to sell your house for.
Right.
Your guess is as good as mine. I don't want you to list your house what we think it's going to sell for, because buyers are of a mindset that they have to pay 20, 30, 40, 50 over asking price.
Right.
So if your buyer can afford 200, not looking at 199 houses, they're looking at 150, 160 houses, hoping to get it for 200.
Right.
So your listing price is going to be very different than the sale price. I'm
Right.
starting to see listings come through at that higher price because we're getting enough solds in the computer. So when you're searching for market value, you do active, pending, under contract, continue to show, and sold. You do 5 categories. I also do a quick search of withdrawn and temporarily off the market. I really, really look to find out what's going on. You have an obligation to do your homework to advise these people. So Andy, let me just go back to your girlfriend's house because that's going to be a good example for Shay.
Okay.
What town is the house in?
It's in Parma, Village of Hilton.
Parma, Village of Hilton. So there is a village tax.
Yep.
Right, so that you have to look up. How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how many square feet?
I'm sorry, what was that?
How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how many square feet?
3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. Actually, it might be 2. It might be 2 baths, 1.5 or 2, and it's 1346 square feet.
Is it a raised ranch, split, colonial, or ranch?
Raised ranch.
Raised ranch. So we know raised ranches go for a little bit less money, right?
Mhm.
And depending upon what subdivision it is in Parma, okay, I can tell you right now what the list price is going to be. But you need to do your investigation. So when you are investigating these properties, I would search raised ranches and split levels.
Mhm.
Colonials and ranches are going to bring more money because they have full basements. Raised ranch is 4 feet below freeze line, and that's usually finished. So it's a 1346, half of that basement area is finished, right?
All of the basement's finished, but part of it's the garage. Is that what you mean?
The garage is under the house or off to the side of the house?
No, it's part of the main structure. Yeah.
Okay, so those bring even a little less money because the garage is under the house.
Mhm.
So you probably have like 1,050 to 1,100 square feet on the upper floor, and then the rest of the 300 is on the lower floor.
Mhm.
It's in good condition. If it doesn't, I know the subdivisions in Parma, if it doesn't have the older asbestos composition siding, you're probably looking at a list price between 150 and 160.
Mhm.
It will sell for 175, 180. No, I don't know what it'll sell for, but
Yeah.
it'll go up there. It's
Yeah,
in
I've
good
had a
shape.
picture all along. It was a recently flipped house. I won't get into the whole story, but we had too many people in our house together. We've been together in my house for 10 years. There was just too many kids getting older and bigger. So she got a house to be able to put her 2 daughters in for a little while. And now they're moving on to college, the whole 9. So she bought it only 2 years ago, and it was a flip. So it was completely redone. Everything aesthetically is almost perfect about the house.
So she paid a lot of money 2 years ago.
Yeah, she paid a lot more than the previous person paid because they redid the whole house.
Mhm.
So she paid 130. I don't mind sharing it. She paid 138 in 19 April of 19.
So what year was the house built? Was it in the
Oh.
60s and 70s? There's only 3 subdivisions in Parma that
Yeah, I
before.
think 1980. I want to say 80,
Oh,
86, maybe even somewhere in there. I don't have it right in front of me, but somewhere.
so
in the
she's right off at 259 then.
Yeah, she's on the north side, so it's North
Yeah.
Ave.
Yeah, the North Ave. Yep. So, yeah, you're probably talking, I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, 150 to 160, but you want to bring the buyers in. If you list it too high, you're going to lose, because if you list it at 165 or 170, most buyers think they're going to have to pay 190 to 200. That's not a 190 to 200 house.
Yeah, you're the third experienced person that's told me this exact situation.
Oh, good.
That's
Okay.
good news. Yeah, for
So we're
sure.
all on the same page.
Yeah, it was you and one of them was I believe it was Jason Mancuso out of the Rochester West, and the other was Brett Waterman with WCI, who you might
go.
see.
Right now, Hilton Schools is pretty popular. So, well, not because of the principal, but Hilton
Yeah, I know.
schools are,
At least this is village.
I
It's
shouldn't
not-
have said that. I don't know.
No, it's
But it's the
understandable.
truth.
It's not Northwood School, so.
Yeah, it really, we can't talk to people about school districts. We can send them to the monroecounty.gov site. And when you get relocation people coming in here, they're gonna say, well, what's the best school district? I come right out and say, I'm not allowed to talk to you about school districts. Here's the site. What is the neighborhood makeup of this property? I'm not allowed to talk to you about the neighborhood makeup of the property. Are there kids in the neighborhood? I don't know, but one thing I can say is I often look and see if there's swing sets in the backyard. I don't know what else to say. I come right out and say, I can't talk about that with you against my licensure. More questions? We got like 5 minutes.
Is it true that you have to have a closet in a room for it to be considered a bedroom or no?
No.
Okay.
It's just you have a door that closes, but you can't walk through one bedroom to another bedroom and count them both.
Okay.
So if the only access to bedroom 3 is through bedroom 2, it's not a bedroom.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that because they have in the same house I was telling you about, they have their bedroom and then there's another room in there that they had as a bedroom for their son at the time when the son was there. But that's the only way to get in there is through that bedroom.
You can't count it.
Okay.
Some people get aggravated, like you listed as 3 bedrooms and you walk in one bedroom and there's no closet, and they get mad, like buyers. Like, how many people take everything out of the closet and put a dresser in it?
Right.
A closet does not, a door that closes constitutes a bedroom. It should have a door that closes.
In this state of emergency, Karen, I know that there is a neighbor around the corner. I don't know them, but that is going to be selling their house because his wife died. So can I send a mailer out to him, or am I not allowed to do that?
Technically, if you send one mailer, you have to send, you're at least supposed to send more than one.
I can't put my card in his door, right?
You can, but then you have to put them in other doors.
Which I'm
Could
not
she
allowed
send like,
to do.
What I'm saying is you can't really pinpoint one person unless you have a specific buyer for that house. If you have a specific buyer for that house, you can call them, you can send them a letter, you can do anything. If you have a legitimate buyer for that house.
So if
You
I
send,
don't, I can
what?
send mailer. If I don't, I can send mailers to the neighborhood right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can
could
send a
she
mailer
specifically, I'm sorry,
ahead.
could she specifically like send him like a sympathy card and like just have her information in that, or is that kind of along the same lines?
I think you could send a sympathy card. I think it's kind of crossing the line as an agent. I guess I always think about how I would feel if that came to me. You've got to have a
I don't know this person.
Yeah. I think if I might send a letter to the whole street saying I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Kristen. I live in your neighborhood and I'd be happy to help you with any of your real estate needs. Done.
Okay. Great, thank you.
I'm glad you asked these questions. Does everybody have a sign made up?
A yard sign?
Yeah. A for sale sign?
No.
Get one?
Mine soon.
But I don't
What is
have a,
what's
I don't
the
have a
best
goal
place
for
to
a
do it
writer.
through?
I know that there's like a vendor file. I would go on the Keller Williams Facebook page and ask people recently where they're getting their signs done, because some of the past vendors are really, really behind. Some vendors are having trouble getting materials. So I would be prepared for that. You know, you can do them online through like Oakley or anybody. There's a Keller Williams site. You also, once you pick out your sign, you've got to contact Noel or Jackie to make sure it's compliant. You've got to have the right information on there. You have to have your title. You have your cell number on there. You have to have a C in front of it. You have to have the full office name, and it has to be a certain size in comparison to your name. So sometimes if you go to the local people who do signs, they know all our regulations, so you don't have to beat your head against the wall figuring out what they are yourself.
So Abby Thiernan, I think that's how you pronounce her last name.
Oh,
she
Abby
sent
will
me-
help you with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and she sent me, I don't know how to forward along this because it's an image, it's like a screenshot on my email. But because I was gonna put it on the chat, but it's Tripany Sign Company.
Who is it?
Yeah, Tripany. That's who the West office uses.
Trippany Sign Company, and they're on West Ridge Road.
Excellent.
And you get those too, like I did an open house, so just make sure you have enough arrow signs as well. If you're, you know, putting one on one corner, another on another corner, and then you got to have the main street. So, you know, a few of those were handy to have.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work with putting like the arrow ones? What if it's, you can put it on somebody else's property? Like, you know what I mean?
Usually if they're small, people don't really care.
Okay.
I usually pick a corner that's not really well manicured or landscaped because the people who really take care of their yard don't want those signs in them. You're
Right.
talking about a for sale directional sign.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Also be careful with those because certain towns don't allow them. Like town of Webster, you can't put those up.
Okay.
So who do we rent the actual wooden post? Yeah.
That would be, and again, that's on the in the know file for the vendors. I use Mark Pollock, Pollock and Sons, Pollock. I think there's another sign person called Farmers. Again, go on that Facebook page and just say who does your installations, and then all you need to do is leave your sign panel at the office, and they'll come and pick it up, and it costs either $25 or $26 for them to install it, your panel on it, then remove the sign.
And then we're in charge of putting the sold or the pending and
Yes.
and put those on and off.
Mm-hmm. Some teams, I guess, have a sign person who also puts like their lock boxes on, or at the final walkthrough takes the lock box off. Again, I'm too much of a control freak. I want to be doing that myself. So
after they go do their final walkthrough, then me as the listing agent goes over there after that and takes the lockbox off.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I talked to because I set up my Supra, that e-key thing, I think like last week. They told me at GRAR you can't get a lockbox until you get your first listing. Is that accurate?
I never heard that.
Yeah, that's what she told
They
me.
low on lock, were they low on lock boxes or something?
I'm not sure. She just said that because I asked her how much it would be or whatever, and she was like, I think she said like $100 or something.
Yeah.
But she was like, and you can call us back when you get your first listing for that. So, and I was just like, okay, because I didn't know, you know.
I will say when I just got mine for my first listing, the girl asked me if I wanted a PIN code, and I said yes, and I gave her the PIN code. But when I went to see the first house, it was with a friend of mine, so it didn't really matter, but I couldn't get into the house because she picked her own PIN code. So just practice it before you go with a client to make sure it will open. Or get there early. And then when I picked up my actual Supra, I had them show me how it works, and the one that they were giving me didn't work. So
Oh.
make sure they go through that with you.
Yeah, because she like sent me, because I downloaded the app on my phone,
Yeah.
and then she like set it up for me, but I don't know. She didn't really, I mean, she told me like how the app works, but other than that, I told her, because she was like, you'll have to press like up on the bottom or whatever. And I was like, well, I don't have a lockbox to do it on. So, and she was like, yeah, you'll get your first one when you get a listing. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to tell her.
Practice.
Okay, so what I would say is, I wish I had a lockbox in the house to show you right now. There's two things you do with your lockbox. You open your shackle, and when you have to put the lockbox on the house, here's your lockbox, and there's a handle, a circular handle. So you put the code in to open the shackle. You have to press down on the loop into the lockbox for it to come out.
Okay.
Same principle is the exact opposite. When you open your lockbox, you put your code in, and it'll say successful open. You have to press down the little box that inserts itself into lockbox. You press in, and then it drops down.
Okay.
If you just wait for it to fall down, it's not going to happen. Right. And then be really careful. Hold on to that box when it comes out, because if you drop it, the key goes flying.
Yep.
Then you got to find it, and everybody's mulch or in between the deck. Oh.
Or in the snow.
Oh no.
Or the
Falls
snow.
in between the
So
deck.
do yourself a favor when you put a key in a lockbox, put some type of glow in the dark key ring or something on it so people find it easy. It can't be too big or it won't fit in the box. I think I would call the board back again and say, hey, listen, I anticipate getting a listing next week. I want to buy a lockbox, because we have been in a situation where there's no lockboxes to be purchased.
Oh.
The agents have to borrow them from each other.
Yeah.
Plus I would schedule a time to go in for them to give you instruction.
Okay.
Apparently you have to call and make an appointment.
Yeah, I don't think they probably take walk-ins, right?
Right.
So lockboxes, signs, make yourself familiar with showing time for your listing setup. Andy, I can tell you right now, make sure you use showing time and do a courtesy go and show, because you are going to get slammed on that house. You will get slammed. You will have appointments every half hour, but make sure you know how to set up that showing time, because somebody can take a block of 2 hours. Oh, this is something I've been putting in my listings under private remarks. No home inspections allowed during showings without seller's permission. And as agents, do not let your buyers bring in a home inspector. During your scheduled showing, do a quick peek at the house without written permission. What if they break something? When you write a purchase offer, our old purchase offers would say subject to a property inspection, the seller signs that piece of paper stating they will allow it. Buyers just can't let an inspector come in, open their attic door and open their furnace and move things aside, do a home inspection. It's not allowed. We had a complaint last week where the seller had a ring your doorbell. The buyer showed up and someone else showed up and took a ladder off their truck and brought it into their house.
Oh, geez.
Right. I would say, oh, good, you're here to paint my kitchen ceiling. Right? Like, what are you doing?
The other thing that I didn't know that might be good for everyone else on the call was my buyer's agent sent me a message to ask if my buyers could do a walkthrough. And this was before I got the mortgage commitment. And I was like, sure, okay. But then I spoke to my mentor and they're like, no, they can't do that until after the mortgage commitment has come through.
Right,
So I messaged him back.
buyers
And
back
he's like, no problem.
right.
But I didn't know that.
Yeah, don't let the buyers back in. Never let them in without the seller's permission. Don't let them back in after closing. Or don't let them back in and say, oh, my mom and dad just want to see the house. Oh, there's the kiss of death.
So
you should say-
when are they allowed to go back in?
Technically, in their final walkthrough.
Okay, so if someone asks you, oh, I want to get measurements or whatever, you say
You
no.
have to ask permission of the listing agent,
Okay,
and the listing agent has to ask the sellers. I do it all by email, so I have it in writing.
okay, but you do allow them to go in after you get approvals from the seller?
Mhm. Depends on what, if the buyer's getting a mortgage, they can't go back in, only unless it's subject to a home inspection. They can obviously go in for their home inspection. If they're going in for their home inspection, if they're my buyers, I am saying this is the last time you will be in this house before closing. So take your measurements, do what you need to do. I do not let buyers in until after they have a mortgage commitment. A couple weeks ago, I had a cash deal. It was my buyers. They called me and said, hey, carpet place is on backup until May 17th, and I want to order my carpet, so they need to do measurements. Can I get back in? And I called the listing agent, and she said, not until we get their deposit. So and their deposit was sitting in the listing agent's office. She just didn't know it. I dropped it off there. And I said, the deposit's in your office. She goes, well, I want to make sure the check clears. Fine. So we had to wait until the check cleared, and then we set up an appointment.
Why do they do that? What's the reasoning for that?
Not letting them in.
Yeah.
The buyer could see something they don't like and change their minds. Or
Okay.
they start nitpicking.
Right.
Especially when a buyer's paid 30 or 40,000 over asking. You're gonna really nitpick.
Yeah.
And they could sabotage their mortgage if they see something they don't like.
So is that also happening with the more expensive homes? That price increase and escalation? Okay.
I wrote on more expensive to me. I wrote on a 329 house. And the agent told me it went more than 100,000 over asking.
Okay, because my buyer is looking for something kind of specific, but he has like a $1 to $1 million budget, but he wants to be like, you know, where the Sandringham neighborhood is. You kind of, you know where Sandringham is off of Elmwood? It's in Brighton.
Yeah.
Okay.
He wants to be in that area.
Okay.
So I just didn't know, should I be looking for something more like 8, 9 when it pops up, and tell him to have that space to.
I don't think that price range is, well, actually, that's not true, because an agent I know, Rita, she wrote on a 1.1 million, and it was a 1.1 million listing, and she wrote 1.2 and it sold for 1.4.
Okay.
I don't know. I think what I would do for a search for that, because that you're not going to see a lot of that price range come up. I think I would search from 800 to like 1.6 and just watch the days on the market.
Okay.
Because and pay it, you know, educate yourself as to regards to what's happening. Go back like for 6 months and see how long these houses were taking and how far from list to ask they were selling.
Yeah, I tried to, what is it? Is it the Realist that's on the MLS website? It allowed me to go back through and see kind of like the history with the graph for like the past like 6 months or past couple months or past.
That would be an MLS search. Realist is for specific properties, for specific addresses. So you can put the street names into Realist and see what's going on in the street. You want actual statistics of what's gone on in the last 6 months. Then that will create your graph.
I wonder if it was RP, it was some other website that I went on.
Is it RPR?
Maybe that's what I'm looking at right
I
now.
do both. I do CMA and I do RPR to see the difference. But the main thing that you want to search to answer your question is what it is looking between 1 and 1.5. Do I have to look at $700,000 and $800,000 houses? So if you just do a general search and put the price range in of 650 up to 1.6 in Brighton, take a look and do all categories: active, pending, contingent, sold, expired, and then see what the difference between the sale price and the list price was.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
It's a nice price range.
Yeah, it was not RPR. So I wonder what I was on before because I'm on RPR right now.
It was probably CMA. You went into a CMA.
But it was nice to gauge an idea of what, like how long it took the more expensive.
You honestly don't even have to go into RPR or CMA. Just do a general search.
Okay.
Of those categories, because you'll get everything. And it'll see list price, sale price. It'll give you a good indication.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. If you have a problem with that, call me, Megan.
Is there a way to search your property in the MLS one just by the address, or do you need the number, the MLS
No,
number?
you can just do an address search.
Okay, because I've tried to do that and I like never figured it out. So I would go type the address in for the realist and then take the MLS number
You just
over.
go right in. You paid your dues and are part of MLS. You must be if you're in realist.
Yeah.
Just go under the search button. Go to single family, and there's a line where you can write the address in.
Oh, okay.
I think PRAR has a basic course on that. And if there's a conflict with an Ignite class and you can go to the GRA course, I'm giving you permission to go to the GRAR course. Learn that stuff.
I
Because
took it. It's very helpful.
Ignite is philosophy, GRAR is technology, what you need to know to make money. I mean, I shouldn't say Ignite is philosophy. Ignite is procedure, but you've got to know those basics.
Right.
GRAR is amazing. Kristen, you went?
Yes, and basically the gist was with Matrix, less is better. So that she said, like, put in 1, 2, 3 Main. Don't even put street. And then hit the search bar.
When did you take when did you take that?
I took that, I think it was in February, because when I signed up, they sent me that I was taking that required course, that one, and a welcome course. And then you have to take a ethics course within 90 days of your joining.
Yeah. When I called GRAR, they signed me up for those, but they're not until like May, which is, I mean, next month, but.
I'll be taking those with you. I'm signed up. I think it's like May 12th or 18th or something.
Yeah, because I saw it was like, you have to do these in 90 days or you could be kicked out. And I was like, oh no.
Yes, and also too, which I thought was helpful is, and Karen, you can tell me if this is good, but I bought a package for my CE credits through the CE shop, and they do have at certain times of the year 40% off. So I got, I can do all my credits, and I think it was like $70.
Yeah, that's where I took my class through the CE shop.
So
I like
something to think about when you're going through and doing your CE.
Karen, just real quick, that showing procedure you talked about that saves you a lot of time, that's within the MLS?
Yes, that's a showing time. So you go up to home, your home screen, then it's right on the home page, hit showing time. Then it'll put you right through how to set it up.
Okay, great.
Andy, who's your mentor?
I don't have one yet. I onboarded last Monday, so almost 2 weeks ago now. But they knew I had a listing coming up, so I've been full communicating. I'm getting my headshot done today, business card signed. So I'm in the process of everything, but I do not have a mentor as of yet, but I'm expecting to find out very soon.
Okay, just, I would put a little teaser email in to Ellen about that. Are you're Greece or Brighton?
I'm Greece West.
Okay, I would just put a little teaser into Ellen, say, hey, I got a listing coming up. I was on Karen's class. She told me to reach out to you again about a mentor.
Okay, great.
Put
Thank
it on
you.
me.
What's that?
Put it on me.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that.
FYI, I am not a mentor. Used to be, but
You
I
should
do
be.
more.
Oh, I was gonna ask you.
You are right now.
Well, this is what I do now. I do all these classes and I am kind of the second or third or fourth person in line for contract questions. So, your first line of defense for contract questions is going to be Tom DeManicore. He is your man. It's not your mentor. Sometimes the mentors call me and Tom if they have a question.
Is he at the Brighton office or the West?
He is at the Brighton office, but he works at both. He works for both offices.
Okay.
He is our compliance broker, help the agents with the questions.
What's his email, Karen?
Good question. I don't know it.
We could look it up in white pages, right?
Yeah.
If I could find that, remember where it is.
Let me see if I've got an email to him somewhere. Bear with me. Oh my goodness, too many screens open. Yeah, I can't get to it. I'm sorry. It's Tom DeManicore. Thomas.
Thomas. How do you spell DeManicore?
It's DeManicore. It's either DE or DI.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm looking him up in my contacts. I'm gonna give you his phone number.
Okay.
It's DE. His phone number is 749-4049.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Been very helpful. Thank you.
I hope it helped. It looks like a lot of information, but it's really more procedure. Taught a class, he recorded it. My understanding is how to stay out of real estate jail. And I couldn't be there, but I cannot wait to watch it. Not kidding, because I'm sure I say things or do things that I shouldn't do. And we all do, but we do them innocently and not maliciously. That's the main thing.
Right.
All right, let's sign off. I will
All right.
revise this, and I think I've got everybody's email, so I will send out this information. Again, I'm going to give you my phone number. It is 259-7532 if you need it. Karen Hilbert at KW.com is my email. Chuck is not my husband, it is my brother. He will let you know he's my little brother. Older. That means I'm the boss, really. No. But it's been a long business in real estate. Megan knows my dad was in the business. It's been a wild ride. Not that it's over, but this is pretty crazy. This market is pretty nuts. So we will persevere and we will keep at it. We always love a challenge.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, guys,
so
have a
much.
good one.
And nice to see you.
Happy Friday.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.